All right, everyone, welcome back to the Golf Unfiltered podcast. I'm your host, Adam Fonseca, over at golfunfiltered.com. Just a reminder that our podcast is powered by Bridgestone Golf, new partners of the podcast here. Happy to have them on board. And joining me today is a very special guest, Squiggy. He is over at Amplified Golf. He is the founder of Amplified Golf. Squiggy, how you doing today?
I'm great, man. Thanks.
It is an exciting day for things all amplified golf today. We were just getting started here, and about, I don't know, a couple hours ago, a press release just came out for all of us media types. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the partnership you've got going on?
So I'm new to the golf business, right? So I've been in the guitar business my whole life. Literally, I was the kid that wanted to be a rock star when he was 16, and I've been faking my way through the guitar business for 26 years. So I'm very comfortable in that space. They haven't figured it out yet, which is great. So I'm kind of riding that train. And one of the companies that I worked with for a long time was Fender, and me and a couple of my band buddies, were talking about how we just there's a lot of brands that try to attract us, like heavy metal tattooed guys, and
Right.
a lot of times it's not really good representation of who we are as people. It takes more than making something black and putting skulls on it.
Right.
For us, and we were just like, man, wouldn't it be so rad if there was ever a golf brand that was kind of birthed on the rock side or the heavy metal side or the instrument side, and then kind of birthed on that side and then kind of brought to the golf space. So that's what we did. I approached Fender, and like I said, man, they've got some of the most iconic guitars and headstocks. They've just been doing it forever, and some of the biggest artists have played Stratocaster, Telecaster, Jazz bass, P bass, and kind of pitched them the idea. And they were all about it. And it was some years in the making, and it's officially official today, man. The press release hit.
That's incredible. And you and I bumped into each other at the Chicago Golf Show. I was walking by, me and my wife, and noticed the head covers that you were talking about, and they looked like the Strat. They looked like everything. I mean, it was an incredible design that just jumped out at us. And being guitar players ourselves, we were like, oh wow, we got to go walk over to this guy and see what's going on. So, and it was just yourself. I mean, is there a large team at Amplified Golf, or are you it?
It's basically me.
Okay.
But we've got a big collective of people that help out, and they're all just band guys. That we kind of run ideas past, and like with those designs. My really, really good friend Darren Leader, who's known to most people as Styx from the band Steel Panther, has kind of been along the ride with me, and kind of using him as a soundboard, using him as an idea board, and just other band guys. We have kind of a heavy metal golf collective of a bunch of us guys that kind of just play golf together. So, the company itself is small. It's just starting out, but there's a big collective of us for sure.
That's awesome. And I love talking to new companies like yourself. And actually, listeners, you can go out to amplifiedgolf.com today to learn a little bit more about everything that Squiggy and his team does. And so, to talk a little bit more about the head covers. So you do more than just, one club. You've got the driver head covers, you've got putter head covers. What was the approach from your viewpoint as far as what to get out there first? Was it just to kind of hit those main things?
Yeah. So the first thing we knew that we wanted to do was to bring Stratocaster and Telecaster to market first. We wanted to launch 6 products. That was just a number that we felt comfortable with. And we felt like that was a good representation. If we could do a driver, a tele, or a driver, a blade putter, and a mallet putter for Stratocaster and Telecaster, we thought that was a good way to come to market. And, we went back and forth a lot of designs. And the 2 designs that we wanted to bring to market ended up being, the Stratocaster with more of kind of a dancing group of graphics on there. There's everything on there. There's the knobs or the bridge or there's the headstock. And the Telecaster is really just the headstock embroidered on the head cover.
Hmm.
So when it looks like when you have the cover on your bag, it looks like there's actually a guitar sticking out.
Yeah.
So those were the two that we just kind of landed on, but there's many, many more designs that we'll be bringing to market in kind of short runs.
I love the idea of incorporating, well, I'm biased because I love music and I love golf, obviously. And so incorporating these two things into one, there's a lot of similarities between the two, making music, playing an instrument, as well as, skills needed to play golf. I mean, you're a golfer yourself, right?
Oh yeah, man, yeah,
Yeah.
fanatical, and you know we always kind of talk about that stuff like when we're on the golf course. There's not many differences from being a guitar player and being a golfer. um, there's an incredible amount of practice that goes into it.
Hmm.
It's completely driven by passion. The frustrations are the same, throwing golf clubs and throwing guitars. It's the same thing, banging a golf club on the ground, banging a guitar on the ground. It's the same frustrations. I say it's the same demons that golfers have, musicians have. And you have to practice. You have to practice a lot. There's not that much difference from hitting, an open chord as the first opening set at Madison Square Garden to hitting a first tee shot at the Players.
Hmm.
The emotion is not that different. Um, so I think that's why a lot of golfers and musicians have, they have a lot in common, but really it's the demons that we have in common. And we're chasing the same thing. Guitar players are chasing the perfect tone, and
Yeah.
golfers are chasing the perfect drive, perfect putt. We're tortured by the same demons.
Yeah, I totally agree with that wholeheartedly. And you know what? Most of my friends who are golfers and who have played for a long time, they also play an instrument. I mean, I've got a lot of guitarist friends who would definitely relate to that. And I know that they're listening to this podcast right now. But for the benefit of our YouTube viewers here, I'm just going to bring up a picture of your head covers. And so
Oh,
these
cool.
are the one. This is the display that we saw at the Chicago show. And so, like you were saying, you can kind of see the headstock. It does look like a guitar is sticking out of your golf bag. So, I mean, there's a lot of detail in what's being shown right here.
Well, like I said, I've been in the guitar business a long time, and I love it. We go to our version of the PGA merch show. It's called the NAM show, and I've been
Hmm.
going to NAM for 26 years. I feel like the same way I did the year one. You walk in, and I just can't wait to see the stuff. So I'm such a fan of guitars. I'm a fan of the brands. I'm a fan of the stories. I'm a fan of the magic a guitar can bring to somebody. I believe that life's better if you play music, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm all in, and I wanted the guitars to be represented as well as they could. And trust me, it wasn't, those weren't the first designs and the first embroidery counts. And there was a
Yeah.
lot of back and forth going like, hey man, the embroidery's got to be better. We got to have the detail in this, like let's get the grain of the fretboard right. And a lot of that was just, sticking to our guns and saying that the guitar's got to be represented well.
Yeah.
Um, Not in a cartoonish way, not in a, um, in a way where we wanted to make sure that like we're a rock and roll company first,
Mm.
um, and a golf company second, and as long as we can kind of keep that balance, I think we'll be all right.
I think you will too. I mean, that's a really cool approach because, as new brands come into the golf space, and something I like to ask entrepreneurs like yourself,
Mm.
as you're experiencing now, golf is a really saturated market. It seems like there's a bunch of
Yes.
stuff, head covers especially. How
Mhm.
has reception from the golf space been so far for you?
Um, I don't really know that many people in the golf business, right? So I don't have, it's not like the guitar business where, I've been in it for so long, and
Hmm.
everybody is just a text away, So the golf business has been a little bit trying, but
Hmm.
we all love it. And the guys that have embraced it, like there's a site called the Hackers Paradise,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
Josh over there, like he saw it and kind of gave us a lot of publicity and really did a lot for us. And I got to say, like, now that it's been in the market for a little while, like I've done enough podcasts and I've done enough interviews where people can tell the sincerity. I'm not, I'm not a culture vulture or anything like that. I'm not,
Right.
I'm, you know, I'm in here just because I loved the two parts of it. And I don't really think that, I think if a head cover brand decided to do like a knockoff guitar thing, I think that would be really super corny.
Yeah.
And I've seen guitar head covers before, which is why we decided to get into it with the guitar stuff, because the guitar head covers before they're just awful. They're just terrible. It's because they don't have the license to do it, because they know if
Right.
they really do a Telly or a Strat, like Fender shutting them down, as they
Yep.
should. So, it was important for us to come with the official license where we can really do the Telly and the Strat. And so for that, the reception's been incredible. The reception's been incredible because there's no really competitors in the space. There's guys
Mhm.
that do consumer or cultural head covers. They do it really well, like those guys like Swag, and
Yep.
even like Betnardi and Hatch, and these guys do head covers really, really well. But we had to kind of find our lane, and the head and the guitar stuff is just our lane. I don't think anybody can do it better than we can.
Well, with the backing of a name like Fender, with the new partnership that was announced today, I mean, like you said, that just adds so much validity and what have you to your brand. And once again, I'll bring it up here on the screen for our YouTuber viewers, but these look fantastic. They are eye catching right away, and they've got all the components that golfers who are very picky, much like guitarists, by the way, as I'm sure you would agree
Absolutely.
with. you know
Absolutely.
there are parts of head covers that it's got the magnetic enclosure, for example, on the putters. Some people don't like magnets, some people don't like the Velcro, so it's great because when we see these things, we know how much care has gone into this design, and that really comes forward, not only in the product itself, but even just listening to some of the things that you've been mentioning.
And even like the red inside is the same red as the inside of a Fender hard shell case.
Yep.
So we can peel back the layers of authenticity, and I think we'll check all the boxes for sure.
Absolutely. One of the things that I noticed in that press release that we keep referring to is this desire to kind of reach a different generation or generations of golfers. And I
Mhm.
think that's what we're seeing a lot now in the game of golf. Maybe talk a little bit about, your ideal audience.
Um, so what's funny is you have an idea who your audience is, like when you're in development of an idea, but you never really know who your audience is until it's kind of in the wild.
Mhm.
Um, we thought it was just going to be young people, because the young people are the probably the fastest growing segment getting into golf right now. So we thought, well, we'll just get the under 30,
Mm.
because that's who's looking for a lot of the self identity on the golf course, and so on. But like this, the truth is, like, it's probably split down the middle.
Hmm.
It's a lot of young people, but it's a lot of guys that just been playing guitar for 30 years that are getting into golf, that are using it as a part of their identity on the golf course too. Which we weren't even really thinking that. We were just trying to thinking of young golfers, but you never know who your audience is until it's in the wild, which is a testament, I think, to the quality of the head covers. Like when guys see it that they've been playing guitar for 30 years, they could tell the authenticity, because guitar players and musicians, man, we can kind of sniff that stuff out. If
Yeah.
something is fake, or we're pretty good at sniffing it out.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting too, because as more and more golf companies want to blend together interests, like
Mhm.
making music, playing golf, or whatever, this a brand like Amplified Golf just sticks out because it hits such a large group of people, in my opinion. There's so
Yeah.
many people that kind of do both, and they enjoy both, and they have such deep passions for both. This isn't something that you just dabble with. Golf, you don't just dabble with guitars, you dive way in, you go down the rabbit hole, right?
Yeah, man. It's like I said, we are tortured by the same demons, man. In guitar, we have a thing called GAS, guitar acquisition syndrome. Uh, which is why we have, if you're a guitar player, you have 10 guitars, right? Do you need
I'm
10
looking at mine
guitars?
now.
Yeah, like you don't need 10 guitars, right? But it's cool to have them.
Yeah.
Golfers very much have the same thing. Like I know guys that have, 5 drivers in their garage, and 3 sets of irons, and half a dozen putters, right? It's the same thing, man. But I think it takes a level of authenticity on both sides to have those two sides interact with one another, where it's like we're speaking the same language right off the bat. But it's the same thing like playing with all, I get to play with a lot of band guys,
Yeah. Mhm.
and it's funny to hear, why these guys play golf. I've kind of my own little theory of, I'm a card carrying metalhead, right? So like full
Sure.
transparency, right? Like I'm a metalhead. But metal guys in particular, like I have a theory why metal guys play golf, and it's because we're extremists, right? Like we tattoo our body, we tattoo our faces, our necks, right? We paint our fingernails, right?
Yep.
We play aggressive music. We're aggressive people by nature. We're extremists. Well, when you want to relax, you got to go to the other extreme too. And
Yep.
the opposite of playing, aggressive music in front of 50,000 people at a festival is golf. It's the extreme in the opposite way. So that's why I think a lot of metal guys are drawn to golf, but a lot of rock guys are too, man. It's just
Mhm.
a good opposite of what we all do.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. I like how you put it that way because, like, even myself and people watching this interview right now, we're gonna see two different people, and I grew up listening to Pantera and Metallica and all of that, and so I'll
Yep,
play. I'm a Les Paul guy, but I'll go and I'll play metal, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'll grab the acoustic and I want to learn a little James Taylor today. So it's
absolutely.
even within the passions that we have, there are those extremes as well. Golf is absolutely the exact same thing. So you really struck a chord there, pun intended, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, no, and golf in itself is, putting is the extreme opposite of driving,
Yep.
right? And so, we find these extremes, and I think musicians, we find comfort in these extremes. We find comfort in chaos. Golf is very chaotic. It's very chaotic, right? There's a lot of chaos. We try to, same thing in a band, right? I mean, there's a lot
Yeah.
of chaos, and you do your best to minimize the chaos, but there's certain guys that find comfort in chaos. I'm one of them. Most musicians find comfort in chaos.
Hmm.
And I think the really good golfers are able to stay level-headed within the chaos, which makes them great golfers, which is what makes musicians great musicians, when they can find, these level grounds within chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of parallels to be drawn for sure. And as even you were talking, and in this room, I've got two guitars hanging on my wall, and I've got like 10 putters on a putter rack. So,
There you go.
it's
Yeah,
everything's right there.
yeah, proof
Um,
of concept, man, right there.
Exactly, exactly. So, obviously golf is going through a lot of changes,
Mhm,
with COVID, a lot of people started picking up golf, and it's never been a better time to get involved in the game. As a golfer, what has
mhm.
been your viewpoint or perspective of the growth of the game right now?
Um, there's aspects that I love.
Sure.
I've been playing for about 12 years now, and I always love when more people get into, even like guitar playing, right? Like
Mhm.
we're driven by new players, right? Guys that are picking up guitar for the first time, and I think it's great for the game of golf too. To have new people in. But what I love the most about it is like guys that look like me are now welcomed at golf courses. Like that's
Definitely.
probably the biggest thing that even I've seen change in the past 12 years. Like I said, I travel with guys that look like me,
Mhm.
and that wasn't always the case, man. That wasn't always the case. When we would walk up to, a nice golf course, we would get kind of, looked at sideways, and that wasn't
Sure.
that long ago. I've only been playing for, like I said, I love the fact that that's normalizing. That guys
Yeah.
that like me are welcomed in a golf course, and guys like me can play. So it's great one aspect of the game that there's people getting in, and I think that drives any sport, and it drives guitar playing also. But for me, it's seeing a lot of guys that look like me on the golf course.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And, longtime listeners to this show know my thoughts on a lot of different things, social wise. And I'm all about inclusion, get as many people onto the golf course as possible. And, I'm sure some of the comments that you just mentioned could probably ring true to a lot of our listeners too, from different walks of life. And that's a very important thing for any community, because really, like musicians, golf is a community. So I think that that really rings true, what you just mentioned.
Yeah, man. We're all driven by new players, and I think that's every company's hurdle. I mean, every guitar brand is having meetings about how to get young people to come in, right? I mean, that's a
Mhm.
universal issue that we're all facing. But golf, I think, has done a really good job of making guys like me feel more comfortable at places like, I live in Jacksonville, right? So
Mhm.
so I'll go out and play, TPC Sawgrass, and nobody's looking at me weird. I'm like I said, we get to play a lot of nice courses on tour, and we're just normal guys there,
Yeah.
which is great. And that's what I think golf needed. I think golf needed a little bit of uh, not, I don't want to say like humbled, but I think golf needed to be humbled a little bit,
Yeah.
and just saying that, like, hey man, there's these alt, if you want to call them alt golfers, but like, let's welcome those guys, because those guys can maybe bring something to the sport. And I think guys like me have brought a lot of, to the sport. I mean, I never heard music being played on the golf course before
Right.
I started seeing guys like me playing golf. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody follows like DJ Khaled on
Mhm.
Instagram, but like that, I mean, that guy's all about it. I mean, now he's got posts every day, him getting off of a jet, being handed his golf clubs, getting
Yeah.
into a golf cart. I mean, like, that shit didn't exist. That shit
It
didn't
didn't.
exist 10 years ago, right? So, it's whether they're tattooed up guys like me or guys like Khaled, I think golf needed that. I think golf really needed that to kind of humble and shake it up a little bit.
I think you're right. And, that those are good examples you bring up too. And it's a matter of, combining all of these we keep using the word passions that people have when they're playing the game of golf, and it just kind of reiterates that, hey, it's okay that people have differences, but also we can all come together and enjoy this thing that we created for everybody, right? And so
Yeah.
it's a great thing to see. I From a personal standpoint, I've never been more excited about the game, because there's so many people like yourself and others who are bringing style and personalities to the game. Like you said, years ago, I would have never seen, you know, a Telecaster or a Strat on a head cover. I would have loved to have had that back then. So I think you definitely picked up on something, and you're doing a good job at it.
Well, I think, for the longest time, the guys that weren't golfers, athletes have always played golf, actors have always played golf. But when you have guys that are, that look like me, when you have guys like Callaway making, short run documentary about Scarface playing golf, like,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That like a company like Callaway not only, has a guy like Scarface on staff, but they're willing to do content around him.
Yeah.
Like I said, I get to play with uh, a lot of artist guys that are now starting to have conversations with brands, and brands are wanting to use them as influencers. I mean, that's fantastic.
Mhm.
It's great that, like, we've kind of infiltrated the space, and manufacturers now are seeing some relevancy into the crowds that we bring too.
Yep.
Like, Steph from the Deftones has his
Mhm.
own kind of fan base, right? And that would never ever be exposed to golf, but like, he's a TaylorMade guy,
Yep.
and so when he's doing content out there, for TaylorMade, um, TaylorMade's getting the Deftones audience now, which they never would have been able to impact.
Right. Yeah, it's great to kind of see all these lines blurring a little bit, and people just kind of enjoying a game, like I said earlier, that we can all enjoy. And that's something that's really big for not only Golf Unfiltered. I know it's big for you as well, and what you're doing with amplified golf, because as you said, I mean, golf is getting louder, right? And
It
that's a
is,
good
man.
thing.
It is. I mean, let me ask you this: like, do you
Yeah,
play music on the golf course?
absolutely. I just got that a Bushnell Wingman, that little
Yeah,
speaker that
man.
you put on. Heck,
Yeah, man.
absolutely. I love it. I love it. When people hear me playing Ghost, and they're like, "What is that?" And it's like, "Well, I'm a big fan." So,
God, their new song's so great too, man.
dude, it's awesome.
Dude, they're such a great band. I don't know if Tobias golfs, but like,
Yeah.
he should be playing golf.
Absolutely, absolutely. My brother-in-law and I are big metal fans too, and so we like to go see all those bands too. But to that point, I got to get him on the golf course. Actually, now that I think of it, he he
Yeah,
loves listening to music. I got to get him some golf gloves, right? Anywho,
look, a lot of
so
metal guys play, man. A
yeah,
lot of metal guys play. Seth from Skillet
yep,
plays. Phil Demmel from Machine Head plays. Fanatical. I mean, the Steel Panther guys. I mean, Darren or Sticks and Satchel from Steel Panther. They're both single digit handicap guys.
yeah,
Matt from Avenged is a single digit handicap. Jeff from Parkway Drive is a single digit handicap. I mean, these are all guys that play aggressive music that take golf seriously.
yeah.
Neil from 3 Days Grace, Eric from Shinedown. These guys are all guys that are really serious golfers.
And I think you said it perfectly earlier. It kind of levels everybody out. You bring that same aggression to the golf course, and you kind of just enjoy an afternoon, right? And one way to do that, of course, is to go check out Amplified Golf. Once again, let me bring up the website here, amplifiedgolf.com. Go check out the head covers. They are in partnership with Fender, so you know that they're legit. Take it from me too, from seeing them up close. The detail is incredible. They are high quality accessories that you can add to your golf bag. And Squiggy, been really fun talking to you today. And what's next for Amplified Golf? I imagine, are you going to branch out?
Yeah, man, we have some more licenses, that we're going to bring to market, of course. You know, Based on the feedback that we've gotten from Stratocaster and Telecaster, we'll bring a bass. There'll be a bass head cover set to market. We'll bring some towels and some divot tools. We just, like I said, we're not from the golf space, so we didn't want to just kind of, blow everything in one shot and just bring everything to market. We were like, well, let's see what people react to. And, you know, I think we're confident we'll bring towels, like I said, divot tools, and have a full accessory line. But we have some more licenses coming.
Excellent. I'll keep my eyes peeled. I know you and I talked offline about a couple things coming up, so I'm excited for that too. So anyway, that's
Awesome.
Squiggy DiGiacomo over there, the founder of Amplified Golf. Squiggy, thanks so much for coming on. Let's keep in touch too.
Yeah, man. And, follow me on Instagram, Squiggy1313. I'm always posting some crazy golf shit on there, with us playing with people. So,
Excellent, excellent. We'll talk soon again.
well, thanks so much, Adam. Dude, I had a blast, man. Thanks, everybody.